Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for another video game spoiler review. I just recently wrapped up my MK1 walkthrough. There's only 4 videos that I did, so it's all up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl if you want to check out the complete walkthrough. I haven't gone through like the online stuff just yet, but as I've heard, there have been a couple of glitches here and there. Not like excessive, but in terms of like utilizing the assist button while trying to attack at the same time. Causes like kind of got issues with like doing one as the other is going. And also the not like it's typically like a crypt scenario like in the previous Mortal Kombat game, but more so like a board game stuff, which I want to check out too, just to help like acquire some collectibles and stuff like that for characters. But yeah, I will get into that possibly early next week. But I'm just gonna stick with like the story and my thoughts on that. Now, of course, this is like a complete soft reboot of the entire MK franchise, because start off in a way like that, and I imagine there was some kind of overall plan with Ed Boon, because everything seems very, I want to say meticulous, but going from MK9 up till now, there was some kind of plan in place, because it seems like it played out like you typically would from way back in the 90s, the way the story went in MK9. And then MK10, with establishing a new generation of MK characters like Cassie Cage, Takeda, Jackie Briggs, and that Kunjin, I think, which I kind of wish they would have brought back them proper. I mean, Takeda is like a special DLC character, which I'm looking forward to trying out, because I didn't really like his gameplay. Like, well, I like him and Cassie I like better than Kunjin or Jackie, but I didn't really play them all that much like that to be great at it. But they did show up as like a little kind of like a tease in the towards the tail end, as like everybody's climbing up the steps trying to stop Sang Sun, and they just get like just killed off. Of course, they're supposed to be like evil versions, I guess, from like an alternate timeline. So I guess you don't feel too bad they get killed off, but there's no moment of acknowledgement from any of the current, at least with Liu Kang, because he should know. But anyway, with what Liu Kang has been through leading up to the moment of becoming Fire God Liu Kang, which is like a nice little progression from what we once knew him way back in the day, and how far he came so far as like being like the go-to guy to win all these Mortal Kombat tournaments and helping stop the merging of Netherrealm into Earthrealm. And it really hit home with the, toying with the whole timeline situations with prior to MK9, the way stuff went on like it was supposed to, from what we remember, with Shao Kahn pretty much cheating in a way, and Raiden from our original timeline, uses last bit of powers before Shao Kahn kills him to transfer what bit of consciousness he had back to his past self, which starts MK9 proper. realizing, okay, something is amiss. We gotta stop Shao Kahn from, merging the realms. So him messing around with what's supposed to play out causes a rift between him and Liu Kang. Liu Kang distrusting him, which leads to Liu Kang and a couple of other people turning into remnants. And then with that's what we see. Them remnants and Shinnok being like the primary focus in MK10. Then and then like that reestablishing Kuai Liang, Sub-Zero, and Hanzo Asashi mending fences in a way after realizing Quan Chi manipulated the whole scenario between the Lin Kuei and the Shirai Ryu. And then, which leads into MK11 with whole Chronica situation, because realizing that Raiden has been messing around with the timeline. She, being the wielder of the hourglass, is obsessed with balance, because she, all the stuff that we knew of who people went to be, and she manipulated events to try to maintain some crazy sense of order. So she was the main focus in MK11. And now, after her defeat, Liu Kang, depending on which side you chose, Liu Kang became like the fire god and the wielder of the hourglass, and was charged to restart the universe proper. But if you chose Shang Tsung, if you're kind of a sick mind, no offense, but I don't know why would you choose like Shang Tsung, but you want to know which way it happens if he does it. So there's two paralleling timelines, Liu Kang's timeline and then Shang Tsung's timeline. And spoiler alert, mind you, evil Shang Tsung, just Shang Tsung on the previous timeline, who became like Titan Shang Tsung, was it took eons, but he eventually became aware of the paralleling timeline of Liu Kang and started manipulating events under the guise of what seems to look like Chronica, because the same voice actress and same appearance roughly, but they call her something else. There's something with a D word. I can't remember. And manipulating Liu Kang's version of Quan Chi and Shang Tsung, and trying to get them back to trying to rise to power, and working with, now instead of Shao Kahn, is General Shao, who works under Queen Sindel as just a loyal follower, because Liu Kang establishes a better life for all intents and purposes in this new timeline he set forth. And I like, for the most part, what's been going on. This is like a best outlook for a lot of people than it came before. My criticism here is, it's like, you can't eradicate evil. Evil is always going to be present at the same time as good. Is a yin and yang kind of scenario. As I mentioned multiple times through my walkthrough of the game, it's like, if you were to become God and you restart like a universe, you wouldn't reestablish. I mean, people are gonna become or exist like they typically probably would in a way, but let's just say the same person exists. You just chose not here. You don't allow Adolf Hitler to be born again. So he should not exist at all. But if you allow him to exist, you should eradicate any notion of wickedness to transpire, or at the very least manipulate events to allow him to like see the good in people, or just not feed, cause anything to feed into his notion that became what he became. Like, you got General Shao, he shouldn't be like antagonistic at all. He should just be a good person, at least establish scenarios to allow him to live a good life, so he just be a good person. And that's how it feels like. Why there's certain people it should be like a new batch of bad guys that wasn't established in previous timelines, like they did with like establishing a new character like Aaron Black in MK10, or like like Ferritor, or like new characters in MK10. They do something reminiscent to that, so that way, like people like Reptile or Melina, don't have to be bad guys anymore, because now we got a new batch of bad guys for them to, that wasn't previous in the previous timelines, that they can come back now. I mean, that's like my biggest criticism is like, it's like you're essentially was God, so you shouldn't have still antagonistic people that are still antagonistic. But anyway, now there isn't your typical Mortal Kombat tournaments. Now it's just like healthy rivalry between Netherrealm and Earthrealm, and Earthrealmers have been like the winning de facto people, and which maintains the balance between the two realms. There's no fatalities or anything like that. And none of that stuff that we previously were privy to or used to in the past. Now it's like a healthy rivalry. It's kind of like a Pokemon tournament in a way. It's healthy rivalry, no nastiness involved. And it's also like there's like Tarkatans, and it's now a disease that you get infected with, and Baraka's not your typical Baraka anymore. He still maintains some bit of humanity, but it's like, why even have that disease in the first place? It's like we start in a universe where you still got you still have polio to be invented, and it's like polio should just not exist, and so Tarkatan just should not exist, so that way Tarkatans wouldn't be a thing, and they can live normal lives. It's just certain things like this should not exist, that Liu Kang has complete control over, that he's still like allowed to happen in a way. I don't say allow, but he should, about this stuff, so you should try to circumvent that. He did try. I mean, I'm saying it's not he didn't do any circumventing, but it's like you have omnipresence in a way, at least at the time. He's sort of like demigod now, but it's just like when you have the power, you're like, okay, we're reworking everything. Okay, Tarkatan disease, don't need that, get rid of that so you can avoid all that mess. Also, like all the world wars, you probably could have easily, did away all that problem, so you could just have not complete peace. It's not like a whole utopia kind of scenario, but it's just like, okay, you can't eradicate evil. Evil's always going to be there, but at least all the worst parts of history, we could just take that out, take that out, take that out. So that way, there might have been wars, but not to the scale of WW2 or Vietnam or anything like that. They could have just been like brief skirmishes at most. That's my kind of like big thing that kind of is gnawing at me. Like, you have this kind of power. There's certain things that should not exist. Anyway, after gathering Earth's chosen warriors, like Johnny Cage, who always got the best lines in this film. It's like, you know, I laugh out loud with the whole him filming with Spielberg to do the whole mock Indiana Jones thing. After just this year, we have like our Indiana Jones film, and then making a line like, you know, when somebody says "get away from her," and he's just like, "You bitch," and they're just looking at him. It's like, come on, from the movie, come on. Oh my god, that was really really funny. Oh my god, great timing. Oh my god. I want to take a moment to establish how good the graphics look. I am so impressed with all the voice actors involved, especially the guy who voiced Shang Tsung, who feels like a very young version of the actor who played Shang Tsung in the first Mortal Kombat movie. I'm pretty sure it sounds like the same actor, just maybe like uh oh crap. Uh I'm trying to find like the voice cast. Alan Lee voices Shang Tsung, so it's not the same person. Uh, anyway, yeah. So we got uh Susan Eisenberg as Ashara, Steve Bloom as Baraka, Jameson Price Ermac, General Shao, Ike Maldi, Garrus is Phil Lamar, Havoc Jacob Craner, Andrew Bowen, and Jean-Claude Van Damme does Johnny Cage. Kenshi is Vic Chow. Kerry Walgreen as Katana. Sunil Malhotra as Kung Lao. Kelly Hu, Li Mei, Matthew Yang King as Liu Kang. Kerry Walgreen also does Natara. Vincent Rodriguez the third, Raiden. Nasir Dalal as Rain. Derek Phillips, Reiko. Andrew Morgado as Reptile. Ron Young and Dasaki as Scorpion. Mara Janot as Sindel. Yuri Lowenthal, Smoke. Kaji Tang, Sub-Zero. And Charisse Booth as Tanya. Just to give all the voice actors their due credit. So you know, Liu Kang's gathering, you know, Kenshi, who's trying to take his well-known sword is supposed to house his ancestral spirits inside from Johnny Cage, who bought it for like $3 million that he has in display of his house. And Liu Kang shows up with Bihan, now the Grandmaster Sub-Zero, and not his new Cybot. That's the name I was neglecting in the last video I did. I couldn't remember the freaking name he was previously. But now that the whole Quan Chi scenario never happened, there's no new Cybot no more. He, you know, progressed like he's supposed to have progressed, and there's no Hanzo Asashi being a Scorpion, he probably lived out a great life with his family that never got murdered off because of Quan Chi. So now, Kuai Liang, instead of picking up the mantle of Sub-Zero, he went the route of Scorpion instead. Instead of like a spear rope, is like more of like a sickle rope. And now Smoke is kind of like the adopted Lin Kuei member. These trio, and they mentioned Cyrax and Sector, but I imagine the whole Cyber Lin Kuei thing never transpired, so now they're just actual legit ninjas, but we never see them. Of course, they're cameo, helpers in the game, but we don't actually see them like as people. But from what you hear from Kuai Liang, they're like loyalists to Bihan. But now Liu Kang has established the Lin Kuei as protectors of Earthrealm, like their first line of defense. But they show up to Johnny K's house to gather these two up. They gather Raiden, who's not a young person living with Kung Lao, not the great Kung Lao, because at the end of MK11, Liu Kang shows up to the great Kung Lao to establish him to be like the first winner of the MK tournament, his first established MK tournament, because he was like the even powerful than like even the elder gods at the time. So now we got his descendant, just regular Kung Lao, and living a normal life with he has aspirations of doing more and having like adventures, but he lived like a nice life with Raiden, who both have been trained to prepare for the next generation of Mortal Kombat. This is what happens every 10 years. So Raiden ends up being the one chosen, and he beats all of Sindel's chosen, including General Shao. And of course, NetherRealm is more of like a peaceful face, not like a cesspit that we used to know it to be as. Sindel's not like an evil dictator, hooking up with Shao Kahn anymore. She had like a loving life with Prince Jared, who passed away. Normal circumstances this time. Well, no, not normal circumstances. He was killed, but it's never established who killed him. But now Melina, it got infected with Tarkat and stuff because she went out one night years ago when, without like proper protection, she just wanted like a nice night out without all being like the whole royal prince, trapped as like a royal princess, and can't just have like a kind of like the whole Princess Jasmine situation. She just wanted to get out, but ends up getting affected by Tarkatan disease, and Shang Tsung wormed his way in by treating her with a serum to suppress that. Wasn't like an overall cure though. But Melina and Katana has like a healthy relationship between each other. Not sure why Liu Kang never tries to hook up with Katana, even though these two were meant to be together. But we'll circle back to that pretty soon. But then you see that General Shao working with Shang Tsung and Quan Chi and Rain and Reiko in order to usurp the throne because of Titan Shang Tsung's meddling. And after Geras and Liu Kang become privy to the fact that Shang Tsung, who's supposed to have been living like a lowly life as like a peasant, not rising to power, same with Quan Chi, notice there's been some meddling, and it's come from some they kind of realize it comes from like somebody from like a different timeline, and they worry it was Chronica, but established by Geras that once somebody like Chronica is destroyed, there's no resurrection for them. They're just gone. They don't exist anymore. Uh, so upon ordering Johnny Cage, Kenshi, uh, and Kung Lao to investigate, they end up finding Shang Tsung's laboratory and trying to, get Melina's treatment. The most graphic, probably the most graphic. I thought it was gonna be more things like this through this story mode, but this is the goriest one, where Melina just, in her savage berserker mode, takes her size and just skewers Kenshi's eyes. And I was like, oh my god, that was like just freaking graphic. And that's how he became blind. They end up getting captured, meeting up with probably like the best designed character out of all the cast, Reptile, who is working under Shang Tsung under protest because he took his he kidnapped his family, but turns out he already killed them, so that way he'll still work under the guise of reuniting with them. So Reptile, along with Baraka and Mina with Ashura, all working with like the Earth Realmers to stop Shang Tsung and Quan Chi from making these soul pillars, and they end up making this crown to contain all these souls for their benefactor. So once Sindel and her daughters come, and Li Mei and Tanya meet up with Liu Kang, and he just comes clean because he kind of hoped that, because after seeing Kenshi blind again, which he kind of avoided, did what he can to try to avoid what he always ends up getting his eyes messed up. He's trying to avoid that, but it still happened, and it's like, God, it's like, this happened. Quan Chi and Shang Tsung teaming up, Deadly Alliance thing, that should not happen again. Shinlai's amulet is being forged again, that should not exist. All these, things should not be repeating, and all because somebody's been manipulating scenes to repeat certain stuff. So he comes clean to Sindel and the others. It's like, look, I come from a previous timeline. This power was bestowed to me, so I try to establish like a peaceful enough timeline this go around, so that way, things don't turn out like they always turned out, so people will have like a nice normal-ish life. And he doesn't want to be worshipped as some kind of divine being. He just wants to be everybody's friend. We still maintains Liu Kang's down-to-earth mindset, which kind of harkens to for example, him ringing Johnny Cage's doorbell, which he can just pop in if he wanted to. He is so down to earth, he still rings the doorbell and wait patiently to introduces himself and asks to be invited in like anybody else, because he still remembers all these people being his friends. But he doesn't come clean to everybody about like how the previous timeline used to be and what transpired. Like Sonya Blade and Johnny Cage worked together and had like a daughter that doesn't exist in this timeline. This kind of sucks, because Cassie Cage was a great addition to the roster, and I love that character. She was hilarious. But after Bihan and the other Lin Kuei members go try to infiltrate Shang Tsung's hideout, tried to disrupt the soul pillars or the soul natal stuff. They end up getting captured, even though they should be freaking ninjas and they should get in and out pretty easily. But they get captured. Shang Tsung manipulates Bihan's ego because he has aspirations to run. He's power hungry, and he doesn't want to just be like saying, like, you know, General Shao. Like, he doesn't want to feel. They feel like Liu Kang's lapdogs in a way, and so Bihan betrayed the order. So Scorpion and Smoke, you know, knock out Sub-Zero. They take him as they technically failed their mission. And once they all regroup, head back, because Ermac was reestablished by Quan Chi. Melina ended up beating him, which destroys the spell that binds him, and now one of the spirits in Ermac was her father. He took dominance now, and Jerry and his family reunite, short-lived, after everything comes to the head, where Titan Shang Tsung reveals himself, points out that, because depending on what you chose, they both are legit timelines now. Shang Tsung's evil timeline, he has aspirations of, absorbing, Liu Kang's timeline into it. And he just manipulated the other Shang Tsung and Quan Chi into making this crown, which he technically doesn't really need. He just wants to gather all those souls that they collected. So to establish this dragon army of, stone warriors as part of his massive army. And evil Sindel ends up killing the good Sindel. After she, was defeated by Melina, Jared absorbed the soul of his wife into him. Now Quan Chi and Shang Tsung working with Liu Kang's team, but they end up getting in prison after this whole debacle is over anyway. You should have the power to take away that power so they can do nothing, no damage with it. And on top of that, make them forget what transpired so they can go back to their lives or something like that, so they won't be a potential threat in the future. Because now they got their power and they just plain old in prison. That's not good enough, because they can still do damage if given the chance. So take away that possibility, erase their memory, take away their powers, and put them back where they were before anything transpires. So that way, they won't get the gumption of trying to establish another, deadly alliance. Anyway, they stop these portals from that connects Titan Shang Tsung's time remnants to come into Liu Kang's timeline. So Liu Kang decides, okay, I'm gonna, thanks to Gear's idea, or no, it's Shang Tsung's technically his idea, that, who's to say there aren't other possible timelines that were overlooked. So Gears confirmed, so there is a possibility. So Liu Kang brings in a handful of the, eventually it's a whole army, but they start gathering other people who became wielders of the hourglass besides him. Like, his katana from the previous timeline became like a wielder of the hourglass, and they kind of reunite together. Never established if she stayed, because technically she has her own little timeline that she has to govern in a way. And then there was like a Kung Lao was one, and Rating was one. So it's like, he essentially gathered up a whole army of different people who became wielder of the hourglass that were good, while Titan Sang Sung gathered evil. I'm not sure if there were other wielders of the hourglass and other malicious timelines or something. I don't know, sure, but you got the evil variants of MK characters, while Fire God Liu Kang gather good, god variants of people he knew, and they all ran up these steps, these classic steps that you see in like the old game where they all come clashing into each other. You chose which one you want to go with. I went with Liu Kang because I'm already used to his gameplay style. And they go up there, defeat Titan Sang Sung and Quan Chi, erase them all together, so they won't become like a threat. And since they're gone, Titan Sang Sung can't maintain his timeline anymore, so he sends everybody back to the good timeline, or their own respective timelines. And now the threat has ceased. There is some kind of like epilogue with like Havoc and a few other people that didn't participate in the battle. They arrived too late or something, so they possible threats. But how could somebody like Havoc, being like on the same par as somebody like Shao Kahn or Shang Tsung or even Quan Chi? I was like, he's should be just relegated to like a henchman. That's, he doesn't have that kind of power to be like a legit threat, depending on what Ed Boon would do in the next MK story. But for all intents and purposes, everything's copacetic. But kind of wish there was more with, Fire God Liu Kang and his katana, and them doing something to stay together in some kind of fashion. But that was MK1. Very good story. And surprisingly, there's certain characters that I was never good at playing before that were so smooth now. Like, I love Liu Kang, but I was never able to utilize Liu Kang in a proper fashion, because it seemed super technical, whereas a little bit more simplified now. Even in the previous game, MK11, I couldn't utilize Liu Kang in a decent way. There's too many arrows or something like this to do like a complex move. It's like I couldn't. But like, and also Reptile, never was able to play Reptile or Baraka in any kind of simplified fashion, or Melina. But each one of those, once I like take some significant time into, I can easily after maybe like a day of or like at least like an hour or so of grinding for a particular character, I can easily do something with. But Sang Sung cannot do anything with. I cannot, but I gotta try other characters though, especially like certain characters that like Megan Fox character, that vampire lady. I'm super interested in learning how to utilize her, but also I want to go with my go-to character, Sub-Zero. He's the first one, and then we'll work with from there. Oh, Katana, I'm not gonna worry about it, because I'm never gonna be good with Katana. I love the character Katana, never was able to utilize her. I'll check her moveset to see, because I'm not 100% sure, but more than likely I won't be able to utilize her in such a way to make it smooth or effective. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of the MK1 story. Like, what you think will be like the next, where we go from here? Because I want to see Aaron Black come back again, because I love that as a new character. And